Welcome to the HP Higher Power workshop of Vakna 31. My name is Bablu and I'm an addict in recovery. Hi guys. And I am going to ask the people to read the preamble, and to begin with I would request Sharon to please come up and read why we are here.
Aloha. My name is Sharon. I'm a grateful recovering addict from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is my first world convention and I'm still bubbling over. But now, why are we here? Before coming to the fellowship of NA, we could not manage our own lives. We could not live and enjoy life as other people do. We had to have something different, and we thought we had found it in drugs. We placed their use ahead of the welfare of our families, our wives, husbands, and our children. We had to have drugs at all costs. We did many people great harm, but most of all, we harmed ourselves. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we were actually creating our own problems. We seemed to be incapable of facing life on its own terms. Most of us realized that in our addiction, we were slowly committing suicide. But addiction is such a cunning enemy of life that we had lost the power to do anything about it. Many of us ended up in jail or sought help through medicine, religion, and psychiatry. None of these methods was sufficient for us. Our disease always resurfaced or continued to progress until in desperation we sought help from others in Narcotics Anonymous. After coming to NA, we realized we were sick people. We suffered from a disease from which there is no known cure. It can, however, be arrested at some point, and recovery is then possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I would request Chris to read what is the Narcotics Anonymous program.
Hello, family. I'm an addict named Chris from Sacramento, California. Also, my first world convention, and I'm stoked. What is the Narcotics Anonymous program? NA is a non-profit fellowship or society of men and women for whom drugs have become a major problem. We are recovering addicts who meet regularly to help each other stay clean. This is a program of complete abstinence from all drugs. There is only one requirement for membership, the desire to stop using. We suggest that you keep an open mind and give yourself a break. Our program is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. There are no strings attached to NA. We are not affiliated with any other organizations. We have no initiation fees or dues, no pledges to sign, no promises to make to anyone. We are not connected with any political, religious, or law enforcement groups and are under no surveillance at any time. Anyone may join us regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or lack of religion. We are not interested in what or how much you used or who your connections were, what you have done in the past, how much or how little you have, but only in what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. The newcomer is the most important person at any meeting because we can only keep what we have by giving it away. We have learned from our group experience that those who keep coming to our meetings regularly stay clean.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to ask the speakers to share, but before that, I'd like to say something. It's very important for me to speak my gratitude to my area and my region. I'm an addict who found recovery in the classrooms of Narcotics Anonymous in Calcutta, India. And I'm very grateful. And I'm very grateful to my beloved fellowship, for giving me a new chance at life. I'm very grateful to the wonderful program of Narcotics Anonymous for teaching me how to live this way of life. And I'm very grateful to my God for, showing me the way. So, I would first like to introduce Tomoko from Japan. She is our first speaker today. Higher power.
薬物依存者のともこです。いいのかな、喋って。大丈夫ですか？
I was in the booth.
Again? 薬物依存者のともこです。
My name is Tomoko. I'm an addict.
私のハイヤーパワーの話を少しします。
I'm going to share my own higher power with you today.
私が NA につながったのは、
The reason I was connected to NA program is
16年前、18歳の時でした。
That was about 16 years ago when I was only 18.
精神科医に、薬物依存症者だっていう診断を受けました。
I was diagnosed with the drug dependency by the psychiatrist.
で、NA を知ったんですが、
That's how I came to know the NA program.
私は、それを受け入れることができず、
It was really difficult for me to accept that.
NA ミーティングに、NA ミーティングに、使いながら1年間通いました。
So I kept going to the NA meetings, but I was still using for another year.
ミーティングの中で音楽を聴いていたり、
I would be listening to a music while in the meeting.
絵を描いたりしていました。
I'd be drawing a picture and so forth.
そのうち、まだあまり薬をやめていない男のメンバーとくっついて、
And then I got hooked up with this male member of the group who was not really stopped using drug yet.
一緒に薬をやめるつもりが、いつの間にか2人で薬を使っていました。
We were almost going to quit using drugs together, but before we knew, we were using together.
でも、これじゃいけないと思って、
But I knew it was not the way.
薬を一旦切るために、私は精神病院に、彼は施設に戻りました、別々に。
So I decided to go back to the institute, to the mental institute, in order to abstain from all drugs. And my boyfriend went back to.
男性は施設。
He went back to an institute.
でも私がその精神病院に入院している時に彼は、電車に飛び込んで死んでしまいました。
But while I was in the mental hospital, my boyfriend actually jumped into the train rail and he got killed.
その時初めて自分の病気の責任を、背負うことになりました。
That's the moment I realized that I have to take responsibility of my disease.
病気を認めざるを得なかった。
I had no other choice but to accept the disease of what it is.
でもその時に、私は、葛藤して、すぐ薬をまたひどく使って自殺未遂を繰り返しました。
But however, I really couldn't stop the drug right away. I was still suffering a lot, and I almost OD'd myself. I almost committed suicide.
でもそれをまさに自殺未遂を繰り返している時に、ひらめいたことがあります。
There was one thing that came to me while I was trying to kill myself many times over.
もし 死んだ彼が、お金をたくさん持っていたり、ご飯をたくさん食べてお腹がいっぱいだったり、よく寝ていたりしたら死ななかったんじゃないだろうか。
I thought that if my boyfriend had enough money, enough food, enough time to sleep, maybe he didn't have to die.
だから私が病気になったのも、生まれてきたのも、今こうして生きているのも巡り合わせなんじゃないか。
So I believe that that moment I started to realize that maybe the reason I was born with this disease, the reason I was using drugs, the reason I stayed alive in spite of everything, is probably something in Japanese it's called meguriai. It's almost like this is an interpretive explanation. It's almost like a chance meeting. I don't know. Got it? Okay.
そう感じたら、すべてのことが受け入れられるようになりました。
And that's when I was able to start to be able to accept everything that was happening in my life.
いつか自分が死ぬときにほっといても死ぬんだけど、
Even though when I die, I'm going to die anyway, whatever happens. But when I die,
幸せであったと思って死にたいというふうに。
I like to die at the end of my deathbed. I want to look back and I want to be able to say to myself, I had a great life. I had a happy life.
生まれて初めて思いました。
And that was the first time I've ever thought about that.
私は、人生は芸術だと思います。
I believe our lives are almost like an art.
技術は計画した通りにことを運んでスペースシャトルを飛ばしますが、
The modern technique will, plan a lot of things and will be able to shoot up this space shuttle into the space, right?
芸術は特に日本の焼き物は、その時の気候とか、窯の温度とか、藁が飛び散ってできたものがそのプラスアルファによって美しくなります。
However, the stuff that they make, an artist makes, such as Japanese art of Japanese, it's the China, the baking stuff. That's in the oven, and you plan to bake it, but sometimes it's the temperature, sometimes it's the explosion of the material that makes it not quite complete, and rather has a little spot on the surface, changes the color, whatever. And I believe that it is the art, part of the art.
その、プラスアルファの要素、
and that is the plus alpha of what you try to plan to complete.
がハイヤーパワーだと思います。
And I believe that portion of it, the plus alpha, something that's beyond your planning, I believe is the higher power.
Thank you. 今まさにここに私が立っていることがハイヤーパワーのおかげです。とても感謝してます。
I'm really, really grateful for the higher power to put me right here on this stage in front of you right now.
今回は、両親と来てます。両親にもとても感謝しています。生まれたことに感謝しています。
I came here with my parents this time, and I'm really grateful for them to give me life as well.
私の人生は素晴らしいです。自画自賛ですけど。
Even though I tell this to myself and everybody else that, my life is wonderful.
皆さんの人生もアートと同じで素晴らしいものだと思います。
And I believe each one of you has this wonderful life, such as it's almost like the art that we were talking about earlier.
聞いてくれてありがとうございました。
Thank you very much for listening.
とても感謝してます。
Thank you for letting me share. I'm going back to the booth.
Big hand for Tomoko, please. My next speaker is Tom C., who, as luck would have it, is an old friend of Calcutta. And it gives me a real thrill to be able to, be the moderator for this meeting, because few short years ago when Tom C. was last in Cal, I was in relapse. I hadn't yet discovered recovery, though I had discovered Narcotics Anonymous. And now that I am in recovery and I'm trying to chair this meeting in which Tom C. is speaking, this is but for the grace of God and the miracle of Narcotics Anonymous, man.
I'm Tom, very grateful addict. And it's very lovely to be able to participate in my own recovery today and, just share with you folks. And before I get started, I'd just like to take a moment of silence to send just tons of love and light to everybody that was just devastated in the South by the hurricane. Just a moment, just to send love and much light to them. Thank you. Anyway, the thing is, what I was thinking of this morning in meditation, and I kind of told my wife how I was going to I don't really know what I'm going to say, but I kind of saw the direction I was moving in, because this morning I thought, the higher power, that's God, the higher power. It's just wonderful to talk about that and feel that you're blessed by it when everything is really going wonderful. When your relationship is on, when you got money in the bank and you're clean and you're just happy and your friends are loving you and all that. But I got to tell you, I guarantee you, there was lots of people that just lost their homes, that were working the steps, that were sponsoring people, that were in service, that were working a wonderful program with Narcotics Anonymous. And yet this just happened. And I became really aware of this many years ago in my recovery, when I finally got to the point where I really started to have a little bit of understanding of my higher power. Because for many years I really did want, and I've shared this before, I really did want the gold star next to my name, because shucks, I was in recovery. I was doing, trying to do everything NA said and my sponsor said and all that. And I just didn't want anything so, I don't even like to use the word bad and good. I'd rather just look at life, with a view of equanimity, and just things happen, And yet, people like us that are working really good programs and have a really good relationship with our higher power, we do get diagnosed with cancer. We lose loved ones that die. We get blasted by earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes, whatever. So where does that leave us in this relationship with a higher power? And for me, what it is, and I've said this before. I've talked about this. I said it at the World Convention in San Diego, and I'll still say it today. With 33 and a half years clean, nothing bad has ever happened to me yet. Okay? Now that's my experience so far in my recovery. It doesn't mean I haven't gone through tons of pain, but my understanding of my God and my higher power is that so far, those things that I have walked through that have been horrendous, and believe me, I just sit there in almost tears watching the news. I couldn't even imagine having that happen and just losing everything like that. But that's life. That's the one thing that life is. It's transitory. The Buddhists have this practice they do, and they make these mandalas out of colored sand, little specks of colored sand. And sometimes it takes, different sizes, whatever. But they can take 3 or 4 monks working all day, weeks, to finish a mandala sometimes. And that's down on their hands and knees with this little thing that sifts sand through it. And they just make these most elaborate, colorful things. All this thing, and when it's done, they completely destroy it. They just take their hand and go right through the sand. And to them, that's a symbol of the impermanence of life. That everything's always changing. I think what I'm trying to learn and what the steps are teaching me in recovery and working the steps with a sponsor and working the spiritual principles is to realize not this relationship that I'm forming with a higher power. The ultimate thing is that I become a channel for this higher power. And that it doesn't matter what's going on in my outer life. What my thing to do is to carry the message of Narcotics Anonymous, to work with the newcomer, to be in service, to give love, no matter what is happening in my life. Not to take thought for my life, So it's kind of looking, when things happen in life, it's kind of like looking, you've heard that saying before, is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? And I choose to look at it as half full. My sponsor used to say, and she got it off one of these TV evangelists she used to watch, but it was kind of neat. We turn our scars into stars. You know what I mean? There's just all these little things, and I really believe that is the purpose of the spiritual life. To forget self and live for others, and you turn these challenges we have into beautiful things. That's all I know. I've been through heavy stuff in recovery, and I've been through stuff that was really devastating to me. But as I look back, and I stayed clean through it, and I walked through it, and I came to meetings, and I shared about it, and I did this, and I did all that stuff we're supposed to do. On the other side, I came out a more joyful, centered, and peaceful human being. And I shared about, 6 years ago when I was diagnosed with cancer. For the first 2 hours, I was like utterly devastated. You know what I mean? This guy just brought us in. He had he was a doctor in Hilo. What do you expect? You know what I mean? So, he wouldn't be practicing in Hilo if he, was, well, I don't know about that. My wife, I was just going to say, but my wife's a doctor in Hilo. She's a psychologist, and she's the best. You know what I mean? And that's where we live. But anyway, this guy didn't really have any compassion. He just walked us both into his office and said, the test came back, you definitely have cancer, prostate cancer. You would definitely 100% be incontinent and impotent the rest of your life. And I said, thank you for sharing. And we walked out the door and we never went back. That was that. And I did research and everything worked out. But those first 2 hours, there was 2 hours there where I was really kind of bummed out, having cancer and stuff like that. But then I remembered, what my life's really about. It's about recovery. It's about stepping up to the plate with the joy, with the love, no matter what's going on. And within 2 hours, I was on the cancer adventure, and we were just going, I'm blessed, I've got cancer, what a gift, let's see where it's going to take us. You know what I mean? And that's what we did. I remember when I went to L.A. to have surgery, that I was in a meeting before, and I was sharing, my feelings about all this and, talking that kind of stuff and just, being blessed, you know what I mean? And this lady came up afterwards and said, I feel like I'm supposed to congratulate you for having cancer, you know what I mean? But, I just really feel like what we've been given here is a way to walk through life no matter what happens and stay clean. And if we do stay clean and keep working those steps, it's guaranteed joy on the other end of whatever we're going through. I know there was a grieving workshop right before this, and that's very necessary. A lot of things we don't turn around in 2 hours. and go, wow, I'm blessed. I'm very aware of that. But I'm also very aware, I know, no matter what comes down the line, that I've got to turn to this program and I've got to turn to the principles. I don't have, being a recovering addict, I don't have the gift of sitting in self-pity for too long. I mean, otherwise I will use again. I mean, this thing will convince me that my sorrow, my pain, my grief is beyond what anybody else has ever felt, and I will use to get rid of those feelings. So I have to go through whatever process I have to go through with my sponsor and, with these steps. And I got to tell you, I love the spiritual life, and I always call myself a wannabe monk, and I usually wear yellows and oranges and stuff like that because that's what monks wear, and I love that. I love the spiritual life. But when I got prostate cancer, I wasn't ready to give up sex. Just simple as that. I wasn't ready to become a monk, you know what I mean? And yet my sponsor, when he sat with me, he didn't get into feeling sorry about that with me. I'm telling you, he didn't. I was going, but Paul, I'm married to this beautiful woman, and I just love, and she walks in the room, she knocks my socks off, and wow, what am I going to do, and he just had to point out, Tom, in life, and he said, in my meditation room, I got pictures of all these holy peoples, and I have a spiritual teacher that I follow that certain path of meditation with, and I have all and the one thing he just said, instead of getting into my self-pity with me, he just said, Tom, these people that you respect, they're all living, and they live very joyful lives, and that's one of the things they gave up, is that part of life, celibacy, and they, moved on and lived full lives and complete lives, and my own wife told me, she said, I don't know what's going to happen, but you got to know I'm never going to leave you and never be unfaithful to you, so let's just get over it. But it all worked out. I'm functioning quite fine to that. But I became willing to look at that. I had to become willing to go through that. That's loss. You know what I mean? This is the impermanence of life. We're always letting go. On the path, we're always being stripped of something and having to move on. That is what it's about. And sometimes that seems a little scary, but I've come to the point to really believe, and I like what Danny said yesterday, and it's the same kind of stuff that was told me, about helping others, and you help others, and I've had my sponsees do that, get into love and service, do love and action, do something loving for someone, and don't tell them, don't let it be found out you did it, because that was what was told to me in the beginning. And I'll never forget this day. I was driving down the street with my original sponsor in the car, and I remember she just said this thing. She said, a way of telling when you really are getting a glimpse of what this program is about is when you can wake up in the morning and your first thought isn't how do I feel, but it's what I can do for someone else. And that's pretty heavy. That's pretty heavy stuff. When that kind of stuff happens, when we get to that place, that's when we live in total joy. No matter what's going on, we just live in total joy, because we're not concerned with self. And we're not perfect in this program. We're addicts off the street that have come in, and what we're doing is I think we're reawakening to what we always really were and what we were always looking for. I just shot dope and did all that stuff because I wanted to feel better. I wanted to feel a part of, because I didn't, and I think that's what happens when I awaken to that part of me, that who I really am and inside, And I really do. I remember also one time sitting around, we were traveling around, camping out at different parks and everything like that, and this group of us with this lady that brought me into recovery. I've told that story a million times. I won't tell it today because I always cry when I tell it. But anyway, this was a remarkable person that brought me into the program. And I remember we were all sitting around, and she was all going, what is God's will? What do you think your higher power's will is? And everybody came up with, different esoteric answers and stuff like that. And after everybody was done doing that, she just simply said it's to live, love, laugh, and be happy. And that's kind of what was said yesterday at the luncheon, joyous and free, the same thing. I really believe that that's God's will for me, for you, for all of us. And in the midst of that, there's so much change that will go on in our life. I heard somebody say this not too long ago, and I really liked it. I mean, I don't ever have anything original, by the way, as any of us do. We get it out of these rooms and reading spiritual books and sitting in meditation or whatever, but too blessed to be stressed. You know what I mean? I love that. I am too blessed to be stressed, but it doesn't mean I don't have huge challenges. And I'll tell you, every part of my life is just so blessed today, except one part, and that's this business world over here. And one of my business partners was calling me at the first couple, and I just said, you know what? I said, I'm in my own little world now. Please, this can wait till Monday. I don't want to hear about any of it. I don't want to hear about this person that I have to talk to. I'll talk to him all on Monday, when I'm at home. Because I just want to be right here present for the World Convention, And this is my favorite thing to do, is just be around recovering addicts and sit. I sponsor a lot of people. I sponsor a lot of people out of the country and that I don't see. And this morning I said, I told B, I'm going over and just go pick a chair out and sit down out in the courtyard, and I'm just going to wait. You know what I mean? And I just ended up, and I just saw this person, that person. I just sat with people that I, don't get to be with in the physical all the time, and it worked out real good. And I got at least one more to go tomorrow. David from Sweden, very lovely soul and everything like that. So that's what I love to do. My wife has on my desk, my business desk, she has a sign up there that says breathe, and then a picture of when I shared at the World Convention in San Diego sitting up here. And she said, just remember why you're here, when you get all fried out with everything. And it's really a good reminder, just the picture and breathe. Because when I'm breathing, when I'm really there in that breath, and that's why the reason I meditate every day is to get back to the moment, to be with the higher power. Because I'll tell you, when I drift out of the now, like I've said, it gets totally crazy because I go all by myself. God, the higher power, actually only lives right in this millisecond, right here, right now. That's where I'm cared for. That's where I'm loved. So no matter what's going on out there, it's never as bad as my head is making it up to be. I'm not kidding. I don't care what's happened. What happens with me is when I get out of the second, my brain goes into this thing, and all of a sudden I've got all these things going on. I'm making them all up. Every single one of them I'm making up. None of it's reality. That's why we go insane, because we're just completely out of the second, making everything up. I'm already imagined all the results tomorrow, even the next hour. So I know my lifetime practice is to keep coming back, And I catch myself. I'll get a phone call about some business problem, and I'm driving down the road, and I'm just going off on it in my head, and then all of a sudden I'll become aware of it, and I just laugh because I just know my brain is making it all up again. Whatever is going on, it's crazy, And so I just, like I said, I just know I have a lifetime practice of doing that, just coming back to the present. And no matter what comes down, I don't have to walk through it alone. That's all, that's a very beautiful thing in this program. I know that in the South right now, we're not seeing it on CNN, but I know there's addicts gathering together supporting each other. They're having meetings like we are right now. And that's the gift they've got that the others don't have, and they're, but you do see people bonding together, loving and helping each other, and these kind of things bring that. So no matter what it is, we can look for the love in it, and look for what we can do for someone else. And that sounds so simple, and it's really hard to do, I know. Coming in here, I really wanted to know about God when I got to this program because I was a product of the 60s, you know. I did all my using in the 60s. I went to my first meeting in 1968, and I was totally connected with the program from then on. I kept going to meetings from 1968 to 71 and hanging out with friends that were getting clean, but I just kept picking up again. But that part of the program, I mean, that is the program, actually, that part of it. What other part is there? But anyway, the spiritual thing of the program is what I really grasp onto and I really, really love, because I was one of the guys in the 60s. If I wasn't shooting dope, I was taking LSD and smoking hash and reading prayer books and trying to meditate. And, I've often talked, the teacher I have today, I started taking these spiritual lessons that Phyllis is in here somewhere. I just saw her. There she is. She takes the same. Anyway, you get these little lessons. This spiritual teacher died in the 50s, but he's got an ongoing lineage. But you get these little lessons in the mail about meditation. You know what I mean? It takes you right from the beginning, right on through it. It's a 4 or 5 year process to go through all the way. But I used to get these when I first started doing. I used to get these lessons in the mail. It was 1966, and they used to come. So I used to go shoot methadone and open up my package and then sit down and try to meditate. And it didn't work. It didn't work. And I'm already ADHD to the max. So even clean, it's like a trip to see me. But I actually do. I go sit down and I actually sit every morning and light my little candles. I don't know how that happens, and it just I'm able to do it for some. It's just over the year. 33 years of sitting, it's finally, I can calm myself down a bit. But then once I walk out of that room, I'm totally a multitasker, and I actually have 3 or 4 businesses going at one time, that all have their own challenges and problems and all that. But that's who I am. And my wife works with severely ADHD people, so she can live with me, So those are some of her favorite clients, she says, But, we make it work. But, I just want to acknowledge Tim from Australia is in this room, I think, and he's 20 years clean today. There he is. There he is. Right on. Nice way to celebrate your birthday. I don't know if he would have a chance to do that tonight or tomorrow at a countdown with 10,000 people, so we want to give him some attention there. It's a great thing. I met him 19 years ago in Hawaii when he was a year clean, so this is really special for him to be here right now at the convention. And Babalu did mention that, I've spent many, many trips to India, and it really holds a special place in my heart. India does. And I remember my first trip to India. When was it? I don't know. It was when Carol went too, and I think it was 87 or 88. I don't know. Anyway, I just came out of my meditation room one day and told my wife, I said, God said go to India. And she said, okay. And it really did, though. I mean, I really had guidance to go. And Carol and this other lady were going to go to India at the same time, but they were going to another part, and they were going to end up in Kathmandu. And my guidance said go to Calcutta. And that's not a tourist area. I love you, Ananita. I love you. I love Babalu. But it's not a tourist area. They'll be the first ones to tell you there. Even Indians that come from Bombay or Bangalore get sick in Calcutta. You know what I mean? It's just... But I love it, and I've been there so many times. And I remember I got off the plane, and I had no idea about NA even being there or anything, but I just knew I had to go work with addicts. That's what I was sent there to do. And I went to the Sutter Street, which is kind of a poor part of Calcutta, and then I got a room for like $1 a night. I said if I'm going to be there, I might as well really just do it right. Of course, when I go now with my wife, we don't do it that way, actually. But anyway, I got in this little room for $1 a night, and I went right to Mother Teresa's place because I just wanted to meet her, at least, and which would have been really neat. But I didn't get to on that trip, but I did many other times. But somehow a nun adopted me and took me around to the death and dying and the orphanage where they pick up the people off the street and everything. And I kept saying to her, I want to work with the addicts. Where's some addicts, And she's just kind of going, I don't know, But anyway, she took me to this house at the end of the day. It was really, I got to Calcutta at 1 o'clock. Landed in Calcutta at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It is one of the largest cities in the world, I believe, the most populated cities in the world. It really is. And by 5 o'clock, I was dropped off at this house of this lady, and right across the street in 1 hour, there was an NA meeting. Within 5 hours after being in Calcutta, not even knowing anything, I was led right to Narcotics Anonymous. And it was really a beautiful trip, and I really connected with some people there, and I really got deathly sick. It was really, I got so sick you can't even believe it, I mean? I was just, when I ended up going to Kathmandu to meet Carol and everything, but I mean, it took her a week to find me, because when I had to be carried off the plane, in a wheelchair, and I was just put in some hotel with a doctor, and they started, I was so sick with dysentery, it was unbelievable. But it was really neat. I saw past lives, I saw God, and I mean, one night I knew I was going to die, and it was like, I knew what they meant by hanging on by the last breath and everything like that, and I knew I could leave right then if I wanted to, and I was getting messages, like clear messages for different people back home. It was a trip, you know what I mean? And at the end of the whole thing, I remember walking in, because I kept going to the bathroom and having throw up, diarrhea, and I remember one time walking by the mirror, and my stomach was flat, and I said, wow, that's cool, because I hadn't eaten it. I'd been throwing up and diarrhea for a week, you know what I mean? And I went, wow, what a gift that is, you know what I mean? But anyway, B and I are going to the APF in Thailand in February, and Ananita said we have to come back to Calcutta, and there's a custom in India, if they hold your hand and you're touching them and you tell them something, you have to do it. And so she held my hand and V's hand and promised us that we're going to go. And Calcutta, I just love it. I can't tell you why. I mean, I don't know. Yogananda's house is there, and I always go to that too, my teacher's house. So we're going to Calcutta, God willing, and I think it is God. And I'm just going to close with one more thing, because there will be some time for some people to share then, and that is just this whole thing about guidance and everything, and I just want to share one more thing about India, because it was really special. And one of the trips we were going on to India, business was kind of bad, and we had made our reservations, but it was the kind of ticket you didn't have to pick it up till almost like a day or two before you left. So my wife and I we had made reservations, we were going, but God, business was really bad, and I just didn't. So I went into it was about 4 days before we were supposed to leave or something like that, within the week. So I went into my meditation room, and I was just sitting there. I said, okay, God, I need a sign. I need a clear direction if we're supposed to go on this trip or not. I'm totally willing to go, just go be present at this convention. I think we're going to a convention over there. But I just said, I really need to know, because I'm totally mixed up about this. I have no idea whether I'm supposed to go and abandon the business. We don't really have the money, but should we do it? So anyway, I just sat there and said, I need guidance, I walked out of the meditation room, and I swear to God, I was only closed the door for 1 second, and the phone rang. And almost 8 months before that, we had donated some money to this Buddhist temple on our island. And they had a drawing. And we weren't even conscious of that. And B's name was drawn, and we had won a round-trip ticket to India. 1 second after I had asked for guidance. So like everybody jokes me, well, that meant B was supposed to go. But anyway. But we went, you know what I mean? And I just, have had so many experiences like that. And the other night, the first opening meeting, there was a woman from the Bronx, from Brooklyn or the Bronx or something like that shared. And she was talking about these little miracles. And I was bringing tears to my eyes, because the little miracles like that work, and so did the big ones, you know what I mean? And I've been, and she was talking about sitting. I mean, just when she was using, this guy stopped her on the street. She was begging money. He took her to his house, took her to an NA. I mean, it's just miraculous. She begged money from the right person, you know what I mean? It was one of those miracles, you know what I mean? And I've been sitting for about 6 months now just asking for guidance about one of my companies and what's going to happen, because I don't know. But all I know is it's God's business, And I might lose a whole bunch. It might close, or I mean, at my part of it, it'll go on with other people doing whatever. I don't know how it's going to work out personally for me, but I know no matter what, it's God's business, you know what I mean? And all I know is I've been asking for guidance for the last 6-8 months. Should I close it now before I'm more in debt? And it's always been go forward. I go forward and I get more in debt. But we're going to see what happens. And I like it. It's almost like fun. It's almost an adventure because I know God always comes through. Because that's all there is. And life is always perfect because that's all it can be. And this moment, no matter what's happening, is just absolutely precious, no matter what it is. And when I can hang on to that, like I say, when I drink water, if I can really be drinking water. When I wash the dishes, if I can really be washing the dishes. If I can be mindful right now in this moment, no matter what's happening, the joy is so powerful that it just brings tears to your eyes. And that is enlightenment. I used to seek after that and think that there was supposed to be, enlightenment is living right now, being mindful of the present. And your higher power will always be there, always loving us, no matter what's happening on the outer, no matter if that mandala is being swept clean in your life. It is absolutely perfect and absolutely precious. And if you stay clean, it's only going to get better. Namaste.
Thank you, Tom. Bees kept a board on Tom's work table which says breathe. I'm going to tell myself breathe, Bablu, because you are blundered. And my recovery tells me, this is your fellowship, admit it to them, they are always forgiving, they will forgive you. And my disease tells me, justify your mistake. This is your fellowship. You can manipulate them. My blunder is that before we started the meeting, I forgot to ask everyone to say the serenity prayer. So I will request everybody now to observe a moment's silence and we will say the serenity prayer together. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Earlier this morning there was a fantastic meeting. It was over a quarter of a century clean and loving it. Yeah? And that was an amazing meeting, and when I realized I'd forgotten to say the serenity prayer, I remembered they had forgotten to read the preamble. So, I'm sorry for this mistake. I hope you forgive me, but this has been an awesome meeting. I thank Tomoko and thank Tom, and thank you all for being here. I would request Ulu of the Hawaii Fellowship to please come up and read just for today.
Hi, my name is Zulu and I'm an addict. Thanks for being my sponsor. And I promise not to burn another sponsor's house down. It's a private joke between my sponsor and I. Just for today, tell yourself, just for today my thoughts will be on my recovery, living and enjoying life without the use of drugs. Just for today, I will have faith in someone in NA who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. Just for today, I will have a program. I will try to follow it to the best of my ability. Just for today, through NA, I will get a better perspective on my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. My thoughts will be on my new associations, people who are not using and who have found a new way of life. So long as I follow that way, I have nothing to fear. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Program Subcommittee of WACNA, for giving me this opportunity to share this meeting. It's a thrill and an honor and a privilege beyond my wildest dreams. I thank the Hawaiian Fellowship for giving me and my wife such a loving welcome in Honolulu. Aloha and mahalo. So let's hold hands and say the third step prayer together. Welcome to the HP Higher Power workshop of WACNA 31. My name is Bablu and I'm an addict in recovery. Hi guys. And I am going to ask the people to read the preamble, and to begin with I would request Sharon to please come up and read why we are here.
Aloha. My name is Sharon. I'm a grateful recovering addict from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is my first world convention and I'm still bubbling over. But now, why are we here? Before coming to the Fellowship of NA, we could not manage our own lives. We could not live and enjoy life as other people do. We had to have something different, and we thought we had found it in drugs. We placed their use ahead of the welfare of our families, our wives, husbands, and our children. We had to have drugs at all costs. We did many people great harm, but most of all, we harmed ourselves. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we were actually creating our own problems. We seemed to be incapable of facing life on its own terms. Most of us realized that in our addiction, we were slowly committing suicide. But addiction is such a cunning enemy of life that we had lost the power to do anything about it. Many of us ended up in jail or sought help through medicine, religion, and psychiatry. None of these methods was sufficient for us. Our disease always resurfaced or continued to progress until in desperation we sought help from others in Narcotics Anonymous. After coming to NA, we realized we were sick people. We suffered from a disease from which there is no known cure. It can, however, be arrested at some point, and recovery is then possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I would request Chris to read what is the Narcotics Anonymous program.